Hi, I'm Peter Charles of Hooked for Life Fly Fishing, and today we're going to look at a very important component of fly fishing nymphing technique, and that's the idea of mending our line to ensure we get a dead drift. We want our indicator and our fly to go down the run at the speed of the current. That's called a dead drift, and I'll demonstrate that. If we don't get a dead drift, problems happen and our odds of catching a fish go way down. The fish expect nymphs to be moving with the current. So if your fly is moving too fast or too slow, it looks unnatural and the fish are less likely to take it. It's also going to result in our flies running higher than they're supposed to be as well. So in this video, we're going to look at how to mend, how to avoid this problem, and how to end up with our nymphs running exactly where they're supposed to be at exactly the right speed.
Okay, let's look at the issue of dead drifting and how we can run into problems if we're not getting our indicator and fly moving at the speed of the current. So I've got this little rig right here to demonstrate the problem. And here we've got an example of what we want our rig to look like. We have our indicator, we have our fly, there's our current, and we have our fish waiting to eat our fly when it reaches it. Here's the problem. If we don't do a good job of mending, and let's say, for example, we are allowing the fly line to be pulled in the current, so our indicator is going faster than it should go because it's being pulled by the fly line. Look what ends up happening to the nymph. It ends up not only going too fast, but it also gets lifted up. So now the nymph is too high, so when it goes over the fish, it's way up here. And the fish is not going to go after it, and it's also moving too fast. So if we allow our fly line to pull the indicator, that's one problem. The other problem we get into is if we're holding back and we're putting drag on the indicator, so it is being pulled by our fly line, being pulled backwards. Different problem. Now the fly is ahead of the indicator, which is not necessarily a bad thing, but it's going too slow and again, it's too high. It's now way up in the air. I should say way up in the water column. If I allow my indicator to catch up, it's going to be right in front of the fish. So that's what we're looking at. If we set our indicator this depth properly, which depending on current speed can be anywhere from 1 to 1.5 times the depth of the water, we set this accurately, we can get that nymph in front of the fish moving it at the right speed. If we cannot control what's going on with our indicator, it's pulling that fly all over the place. And as a consequence, we end up not catching fish because the fly's out of position and going too fast or too slow. So that's the issue with the dead drift.
Okay, in this example, I make my cast, and because the run is narrow, I have to pull my fly away from the shallow stuff. Then I make a small mend to put my fly line and leader behind the indicator. And now watch as it goes downstream, you'll see that the indicator is running at exactly the speed of the current. Now if there was natural foam running on the current, you'd actually be able to check the speed of your fly by matching the indicator to the motion of the foam. Okay, in this example, I'm going to cast out, make a small mend to put the line and the leader behind the indicator, and I have to make a second one, and now I can let it drift down at the speed of the current. Here we have a different issue. I make my cast, I put my line behind the indicator, and then the indicator starts moving into slow water and my line's in slower water. I have to actually move my line downstream so that the indicator doesn't drag. Here I'm going to use both upstream and downstream mends. First the upstream mend and another one, and now I have to go downstream as my indicator moves my line into slower water. Here's another example of using both an upstream mend to originally put the line behind the indicator. Now I'm going into slower water with my line and leader. I'm making a series of downstream mends so everything moves at the same speed. Okay, there we can see how important mending is to ensure that we get a good dead drift and our fly stays in the zone where the fish is most likely to take it. If we're not able to mend well, our effectiveness while nymph fishing goes way down. So keep all the points I've raised in this video in mind. Learn how to keep your nymph and indicator from going too fast or too slow, and use the current in the foam line to be able to judge the speed of your indicator. So once you get that right, your effectiveness will go way up. So give it a try. Cheers.